All right. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me now? Do you want to feel like you're on a Zoom? Can you hear me? Did you hear that? Am I on mute? We were just having that conversation over here a minute ago. Turn it up. They're saying I'm not near loud enough. That don't happen not very often in my life. Holy cow, that's really loud. My goodness. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and it is just makes my heart happy to see everybody in this room. And we've all been jibber-jabbing and sharing stories, and it is just so fine that we're all in this room together again. And all of those out there in, what did Dale say, the World Wide Web out there? We hope that at some point in the future, y'all will join us as well. So welcome. Thank you for joining us today for our April luncheon. We're very excited to hold our luncheon in person and appreciate everybody joining us today. Today, we are pleased to recognize Safe Harbor, a Child's Justice Center, as our presenting sponsor. Please join me in welcoming Lynn Story with Safe Harbor to share a bit more about this great organization and its work in our community. Nice to meet you, Lynn, fellow Luncheon.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is good to see everybody. My name is Lynn Story Heiler, and I'm the Executive Director of Safe Harbor, a Children's Justice Center. We are a 501(c) nonprofit organization, and we were started in 1999, over 22 years ago. We were a community response to children falling through the cracks. We are a child advocacy center, and we run various programs. We conduct child forensic interviews for law enforcement and social services on children who are suspected of being abused and neglected. We coordinate the multidisciplinary approach to child abuse in our community. We facilitate the Laramie County Child Protection Team. We are located in a big 3-story Victorian home across the street from the lock shop, where we offer supervised visitation in a home-like environment for kids and their parents who, for whatever reasons, the court have said cannot be alone with that parent. We provide safe exchanges for kiddos when their parents can't even get along enough to exchange the child between them. We make sure that that exchange is safe. And lastly, every child in the Department of Family Services care is mandated to have a meeting on them every 3, 6, 9, and 12 months to make sure that they're going through the system as quickly as they can. We facilitate those meetings and we write the reports that go to the judges. But I am here today to recognize and raise awareness to the problem of child abuse. April is Child Abuse Awareness Month, and across this country and today here in Laramie County, we can add our voice to those who are otherwise unable to speak. Child abuse continues to be a significant problem, and in the United States, and sadly here in Wyoming as well, it is estimated that over 3 million children are victims of child abuse each year. Child abuse occurs in every social economic level, across all ethnic cultural lines, within all religions and all levels of education. Every Laramie County child deserves a safe and nurturing childhood, yet too often, children are subjected to abuse and neglect by those responsible for their care. Consider these facts. 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before they turn 18 by some adult they know and trust. 90% of those who molest children are family or friends. For every incident of child abuse or neglect that gets reported, it's estimated that 2 other go unreported. More than 20,000 images of child pornography are posted online every week. And the child pornography industry is a $3 billion a year industry. Children whose parents are unemployed have about a rate of 2 times of being a victim of child abuse and 2 to 3 times the rate of neglect. Child sex offenders molest on the average of 117 children, most who do not report. A study of prison inmates found that 84% were abused as children. so you can see that child abuse casts a shadow that lasts a lifetime. We understand that the combined professional wisdom and skills of the multidisciplinary team approach will result in a more complete understanding of case issues and most effective child and family-focused system response. No one single agency can respond to all the needs and complexities of child abuse. And it is with us as well. It's going to take all of us working together, side by side each other, serving unique roles. In order to be effective in our efforts to prevent child abuse and neglect from occurring in Laramie County, we need a complete community approach. Let me say that again, a complete community approach. From elected, thank you, from elected officials, businesses, family members, agency staff, teachers, bus drivers, store clerks, and all others who come in contact with children and family. The children of Laramie County are not only counting on us to do our part, but their lives are depending on it. I want to thank you for listening to my remarks, and as you go about April, I hope you will remember Child Abuse Prevention Month and what possibly you can do and play in that part. If you want to know more about us in Safe Harbor, you can visit our website at www.safeharborkids.org. Thank you.
Had to find my place. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Lynn, so much for everything that you do and Safe Harbor does in our community. We often speak about businesses that improve our citizens' quality of life, and it is incredibly inspiring to see a company such as yours that has created a safe space to improve the lives of children and families in our community. Thanks for sponsoring today's luncheon. So your Chamber of Commerce continues to move forward. We are so grateful that all our membership continues to have faith in our efforts, and we are proud that we continue to add new members to our ranks. I would like to recognize our silver and bronze sponsors for today's luncheon. Silver sponsor, Cheyenne Animal Shelter. And then our bronze sponsors, Affordable Roofing, Holly Frontier Cheyenne Renewable Diesel Company, LLC, Little Monkeys Preschool and Daycare, Memorial Monuments Incorporated, Meridian Trust Federal Credit Union, and Monument Home Builders Incorporated. Thank you to all of our sponsors for today's luncheon. Please help me welcome Eric Romano with Farmers Insurance Agency as our Red Carpet Committee representative to introduce our new chamber members. Welcome, Eric.
Well, we get to welcome some new members today, so we appreciate your membership, and let's give them a hand as we read them off. We're going to start with Streamworks Media Mobile Marketing, Rob and Rebecca McGee. Streamworks Media is your local mobile marketing expert. We create QR code scan to win contests, text message campaigns, QR code scannable menus, text to win contests, and mobile loyalty reward programs. The owners, Rob and Rebecca, work with you directly to craft and launch campaigns that get seen on folks' cell phones within seconds to trigger sales and create loyalty. No shared short codes. We give you your 800 number, or you use your current business number if allowed. Put yourself in people's pockets. Next, we've got Family Promise of Cheyenne. We have Rachel Martinez and Jerry Griego. Family Promise of Cheyenne, an affiliate of National Family Promise, is one of only 3 family homeless shelters in southeast Wyoming, serving families with minor children who have no place to live. This year, they celebrate 20 years of being in Cheyenne. Through an extensive volunteer network of hosting and supporting faith communities, Family Promise provides a temporary home to families while they receive case management and wraparound services to become self-sufficient and find stable housing. They look forward to the Chamber partnership to grow their community and business support since there are still so many families that need help. Next, we've got Clint and Samaria Kennedy with CK Bespoke Woodworks. So Clint and his wife Samaria started CK Bespoke Woodworks business for when Clint retires after he completes his 20 years in the Air Force, where he has served as a Security Forces member. Samaria is also a veteran of the Air Force, having served as Security Forces member, then civilian federal police officer on base until their relocation to the UK. They've lived in Cheyenne for 4 years now. They have 2 daughters, and they hope to make Cheyenne their home upon retiring from the Air Force. Thank you, guys. Next, we have Bites Managed IT, Todd Lewis, Landon Clark, and Kevin Carmody. You need technology that works so you can run your business effectively. Through managed IT services from Bites, we handle all your tech needs and focus on running your business instead of worrying about your IT. Thank you guys for your membership. Next, we have Jeff and Carrie Siebert, and they are with TBC Manufacturing, Inc. Thank you, guys. TBC is a third-generation family manufacturing business producing custom-designed tube-bending tooling. We have been servicing industries such as HVAC, automotive, transportation, furniture, and others nationwide for over 30 years. After outgrowing our facility in Colorado and planning to add heat treating to our manufacturing capabilities, we looked around for a new location and found Cheyenne to be the perfect place for our family-oriented and community-minded business to flourish. Thank you guys for your membership. Appreciate it. Next up, we have Donor Alliance, Raya O'Neill and Patty Schutte. Donor Alliance is the federally designated nonprofit organ procurement organization that serves most of Wyoming. Donate Life is the symbol of the cause for organ, eye, and tissue donation, as you may recognize us as Donate Life Wyoming. Our mission is to save lives through organ, eye, and tissue donation by educating the public on the facts of donation and encouraging all to say yes to saving lives with donation. We can help employers meet corporate social responsibility needs with our free workplace partnership for Life program. Please ask us about that today. Thank you, guys. All right, next we've got Scott Steyert. Scott's with Tread Connection. Thanks, Scott. Scott is a former Army Green Beret who retired in late 2014. He became an owner-operator of his Tread Connection branch, serving the Front Range. Think of Scott as Safe Light for tires. Pretty awesome. So Scott, he's a brick and mortar tire supplier on wheels. Mount, balance, purchase wholesale, and deliver on site. It's pretty cool. All right, Andrew and Faith Pitkovsky. They're with Bernie's Cafe. Bernie's Cafe is a locally owned food truck and mobile catering company. We plan on serving Cheyenne and throughout the states of Wyoming and Colorado. 95% of our menu is made from scratch, including our fresh baked breads and pastries. Our grand opening will be at the Blue Federal Credit Union World Headquarters, June 7th through 11th, so don't miss that. Thank you, guys. All right, next up, we have the True Troop, Audrey and Amber True. Where are you guys? There they are. Cool. The True Troop is an independent theater troupe working to make the arts community more accessible. We do not usually stage the typical plays or musicals, instead preferring to focus on work produced by local and regional creators in Wyoming to provide them exposure to a wider audience. We are a found space company that strives to create arts accessibility to all of our community and bring theater to a place that is fun and engaging. Thank you, guys.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's so good to see everyone actually in person and to see your smiling faces. You know, I saw Bob Jensen walk in the door a while ago, and I thought something was surely wrong with him. He looked like he had just got mugged. So I walked up to him and I said, "Bob, what in the world is the matter with you? You just look like you've been through it." He said, "No, I didn't get mugged or anything. I just came back from the legislature." And I think any of you who've been paying attention to what's going on know well what he is talking about. It's been a long session. I heard the Senate is going to try to finish up today, and the max they can stay in town is next Wednesday, and we can send those boys and girls packing back to where they belong and leave the business community alone, because we have had some challenges this year. I hope you're reading your weekly updates that you're getting every Friday. It goes through all of those bills. We have been able to defend some things that were important to Cheyenne, like tax exemptions for data centers, and we were able to hold on some important things there. We were able to move bills forward that were important, like liability protection for businesses from COVID. We had a military bill, Colonel Benetti, that was very important. Yeah, several of them, but one to do with licensing that was very important. We had a bill to deal with unenforceable covenants, to deal with language in when we buy a home, and not having to make folks of color and different cultures read that and initial that, hey, I'm not welcome here. So we had some successes too. But at the end of the day, I think those of us who have been involved will be ready to move forward to next year. Just to give you a couple announcements, because I know we're running a little bit short on time. Next month is Military May, and we always take that time out to celebrate the men and women in uniform in our community and appreciate what they give to us. So keep your eye on a schedule, and we'll have certainly a proclamation. We'll do some events for our airmen and airwomen. And I know you guys always participate with us a lot on that. So the animal shelter is going to come up and share a message with us. And as they're on the way up, what I would tell you is thank you. It was 1 year and 2 weeks ago to now that COVID hit. And I'm going to tell you that chambers all of this across this country have struggled. I hear on a call, I'm on a call with them every week. They tell about the terrible things that are happening to them. Folks, this one is not. I am so grateful to you that you believe in your community, that you believe in your Chamber of Commerce, and that today you can go pull our finances, and we are ahead of budget for the year, which is just about unheard of. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I know all my staff is saying, yay, we get paychecks next month, so they're glad to hear it too. But Cheyenne is such a wonderful community, and we have so much to be proud of. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sue, and she has some exciting news and information for us from the animal shelter.
Thank you, members of the Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Superintendent Balow, Colonel Benetti, Commissioner Heath, District Attorney Manlove. My name is Sue Castaneda. I'm the CEO of the Cheyenne Animal Shelter, and I am thrilled to have this opportunity to speak before you today to honor the shelter's 50th anniversary. The Cheyenne Animal Shelter was begun by a group of concerned citizens, with their first meeting being held on August 1st, 1970. Each of the members had a great deal of experience tending to various dogs and cats in the community, as they were often being dumped along county roads just to fend for themselves. The group called themselves Our Rescue for Poor Homeless Animals, or rather orphan. Once they raised a little money, the group rented out a garage, installed a telephone, a desk, a kerosene stove, and a rubber plant. I don't know why that's in the archives of history, but it was there. Rubber plant was very essential. Volunteers took turns manning the phones, giving great care not to give out their address, or else people would dump animals at the doorsteps there. Once the animals were properly accepted, and they were fostered out to loving homes and found new homes. In time, the group began to consider the condition of the local dog pound. Newly elected Mayor Bill Nation worked closely with them as he was also concerned about animal overpopulation. The City Council and shelter began talks to give control of the pound to them. It was known as the day the housewives took over the pound. They renamed it the Cheyenne Animal Shelter. The shelter has been located in 3 places on Happy Jack and Missile Drive. Anybody remember that one? Way back, yes. Parsley Drive, and now at our new facility on Southwest Drive, which was opened in 2003, so it's not really quite so new anymore. The Cheyenne Animal Shelter is not a department of the city or county. Rather, we are a private, not-for-profit C3 corporation that contracts with the city and county to provide animal control and protection services. Animal control officers are more than just the dog catcher. They are often the first responders providing additional assistance to our local law enforcement, 91 times in the past year. They do humane investigations, seek justice for abuse, neglect, and abandonment, and bring animals in need to safety. They write long reports, face abusers in court, and deal with lost, injured, and even deceased animals. They protect people from dangerous animals and animals from dangerous people. As an open intake shelter, we are required to accept all the animals that come through our doors. Currently, and over the past few years, we care for 6,000 animals at least every year. Many are reunited with their own owners. Many find new loving homes through the shelter. We believe ourselves to be a socially conscious shelter, meaning that while we do or are forced sometimes to euthanize animals, we work very hard to only have to do so to the sick, too injured, or too aggressive. In fact, our live release rate for dogs and cats right now is in the mid-90%. That actually qualifies us in some animal sheltering circles to be called no-kill. The proof is in the numbers. In 2012, the animal shelter took in 2,528 cats and was forced to euthanize 1,200 of them due to injury, illness, behavioral concerns, or just general lack of space. In 2020, we took in 2,284 animals, but we were only forced to provide end-of-life services to 170 cats. This is due to an expansion of our foster programs, our work with other rescue partners, our community cat and barn cat programs. The Cheyenne Animal Shelter offers spay-neuter programs to low-income qualified pet owners to get more animals spayed and neutered. Our in-house medical team provides care to pets and owners who cannot otherwise afford care for their pets. Wrong page here, sorry. Due to the coronavirus last year, we didn't get to make hay, as they say, about our 50th anniversary. So I asked to come here before this good assembly to recognize the many volunteers and supporters who have cared for the pets of this community these past 50 years. Today I have with me, and yes, you will have to stand, some of my members of my fabulous staff. Animal Control Supervisor Ryan Johnson. Dispatcher Gina Brazali. Shelter Manager Marissa Cox. Dr. Amanda Payne, one of our 2 veterinarians in the shelter. Also with us today, we have board members Donna Kroc, Chloe Illoway, and Brandon Lang out there somewhere, I know. Hi. Thank you to them and the hundreds of dedicated employees and board members who came before them. As well, I want to thank our great supporters and volunteers, Sam and Patty Runyon. A special thanks to Sam and Charles Schwab for sponsoring this opportunity for us today. Thank you. And finally, I want to thank all of you. You have supported the Cheyenne Animal Shelter for 50 years during all of our ups and downs. You've adopted beloved family members for the shelter and given generously to the Furball and other fundraisers, as well to the various mayors over the years, city council members, and county commissioners who have worked with us to provide funding for animal control and sheltering of the lost and homeless pets of the community. I think the original founders of the Cheyenne Animal Shelter would be proud to think that an organization begun by volunteers in a garage with nothing but a telephone and a rubber plant would be proud of all of us. Thank you so much.
All right, so there I did forget one business that was a member. And it's always good when we got more, right? So I know that Meals on Wheels, hey guys, thank you for being here, and welcome them as new members. Thank you so much. All right, so free lunch drawing. We get to do free lunch and we get to do our little gambling again. Don't tell anybody, District Attorney. We don't want to. All right, Stig Hallingby from First State Bank. So Stig gets the free lunch. Nine 6732. You don't want to lose today's ticket either. It's pretty good. 9606732. That was great. The district attorney who we love and has given speeches for us for Athena and is a great community human is here today, and it's won by the county commissioner. So thank both of you guys for being here. It's so good to see everyone. Haven't seen them in a while. So I'm going to get off of here, but I got one good piece of news for you guys today before I go. So about 5 years ago, we had the audacity from the city of Cheyenne and the Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce to walk into Amtrak in Washington, D.C. and say, we would like to be considered for routes that you do in the future. What do we have to do? The guy looked at me and said, I've been here 25 years. Nobody's ever asked. And I said, we're asking. Yesterday, Amtrak let out their map for their priorities for short rail, and the short rail from Pueblo, Colorado to now Cheyenne, Wyoming on that map. We are on the map, and we're going to continue to work to get that funded. So Kathy Cathcart, your past chair, will come up and introduce our speaker. And for those of you who celebrate it, happy Easter, everyone.
Super excited about that train. Dale promised me in my lifetime I would get to ride that train to Denver. Keeps telling me maybe in the next decade. Well, I better do that. All right. It is my great pleasure to introduce our speaker for today. Jillian Balow is not just the superintendent of public instruction for the great state of Wyoming, but she is also our friend. She is a stalwart supporter of business across the state, a steadfast supporter of our men and women in uniform, both in Wyoming and across our nation. And yes, she is an avid and fervent supporter of our children and their education. We are so pleased that she has joined us today. So please join me in welcoming Jillian Balow.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. I appreciate it. And I have to say that this is probably the first time that I've spoken to a group in about a year where someone hasn't immediately said, you're on mute. So thank you. I am not on mute, right? Okay. Well, good afternoon, Chamber of Commerce. It's wonderful to see everyone. I was here for the very last in-person event before we went virtual. I attended some of the Chamber's virtual events. And thank you, Dale and Chamber staff, for making those opportunities possible. But I have to say, it is wonderful to see you all in person, even if we're not in our yoga pants and maybe had to brush up on our social skills just a little bit before we got here. I also brought with me today a new friend. I want to introduce Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce to Dr. Margaret And I want to tell you just a little bit about Margaret Crespo because you will quickly learn about her as she is soon taking the reins as Laramie County School District number 1's new superintendent of schools. So I encourage you to introduce yourself to Dr. Crespo. And I also have my Chief of Staff, Dickie Shaner, and Communications Director, Linda Finnerty, here as well. So thanks for coming out and getting back into the social fray. So last week, as you know, there were new health orders that were released, and those go into effect next week. These are on the heels of relaxed statewide health orders that loosen mask requirements except in school. I'm coming out of the gates with the elephant in the room, just to let you know. And this week's orders hopefully clear a path for school districts across the state to host safely things like prom and graduation. But remember, those decisions are all determined at the local level with the guidance of the state. So I know that your principals, your student councils, and leadership across the county are working really hard to make sure that those important events take place for our schools, for our children, and for our neighbors. We are so fortunate in Wyoming, and I'm so proud of Wyoming. We're one of a handful of states that has been almost universally opened for in-person instruction from day one in August. And I just want to clap for Wyoming for that. Guys, we've stayed open all year, and never ever once was the attitude in any district or any community across Wyoming, how do we stay closed or we can't open? It was always, we're closed, how do we open? Always, 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 how do we stay open? And I want you to know that from day one, our message has really been that schools need to be the very last to close and the very first to open. And part of that is because of you. We know that the business community relies on the great education opportunities that Wyoming provides to our students to prepare tomorrow's workforce. And we also know that the schools are the fabric of our communities, and you rely on them for your prosperity. So thank you for taking part in keeping schools open this year. And I have to brag a little bit more on Wyoming and say that last month, when the CDC guidelines came out for safely reopening schools, it was almost an exact iteration of what we did in June, plus about 100 pages of bureaucracy. And but really, it was substantially the same. We rolled that out in June for school districts. School districts responded by having heartfelt and robust conversations at the local level about how to safely bring kids back to school on time and how to keep their communities thriving throughout the year. And I'm just, again, so proud of Wyoming. And before I switch to our legislature and give you an update on that, I want to just emphasize how critical it is for each of you to thank your school leaders, your school board members, staff, coaches, teachers, for all of the work that they did during this unbelievably unique year, because they really led the country in doing the right thing for our students. And I want to, yes. And I want to recognize if there are PTO members, if there are spouses of teachers or school leaders in the room, please stand up now and be recognized. Okay, thank you. Well, switching gears now to the legislature, which is wrapping up, as Dale mentioned. The House and the Senate have whittled down a number of education bills to just a few, and I want to run through 4 of those with you now, although there were several more. Number 1 is funding, and that was one of the most debated subjects in the legislature this year. With the fall of coal and the political attack on domestic oil and gas production, our mineral revenue dependent education system is seriously just several biennia away from a collapse. It's pretty scary, and our legislature recognized that. It does appear that this session, although nothing is signed yet, There have been some substantive interventions to prolong the life of our school foundation program that funds our education operations. Nothing is signed again, but it looks like it will be a combination of reductions to our school block grant that goes to every district, as well as some diversions to our rainy day account, as well as a really crafty and complex way of using our federal COVID funds to offset or augment our local and state revenue. So I'm really grateful for the progress that our legislature made this year. And maybe it's time to just take a small sigh of relief, but we've got a long way to go. And if there's one lesson to take away from the complexity of the decisions that were made this session around school funding is that it's never easy and there's no silver bullet. Reducing education, making it fit so that we no longer have a structural deficit through reductions, diversions, augmentations, et cetera. It's very complex. And so when you see your legislators, even though we're grateful they're going home as early as today, as late as Wednesday, please thank them for all of the work that they did around school funding. Second is capital construction. This is coupled with school funding, but this one bill did not make it across the finish line bill, and that's SJ4. And the reason that I'm bringing it up now is because I wish that it would have made it across the finish line, but I anticipate we'll be talking a lot about it during the legislative interim. And as you know, school capital construction is done with a different funding stream than school operations. And there's a different process for funding capital construction. In the past, this has mostly been done through COLEAS bonus money, which is gone. The account for school construction is almost depleted. So what SJ4 would have done is create a conversation in the state via a ballot amendment or a ballot initiative for a constitutional amendment that would have allowed local districts, in addition to the state, to fund capital construction. Right now, it's all done at the state level. I anticipate that we'll continue to have that discussion, and it'll be a really important discussion for the business community to be a part of. I know I've had talks with many of you about new school construction being not really an anchor tenant because it's not a business, but being an anchor location in a community where there may be growth in business that spurts up around it. Third is called Learn While You Earn. This is a bill that removes barriers for work-based learning, such as apprenticeships and externships and internships, and it provides opportunities for you as businesses and as industry to be directly involved in preparing youth for tomorrow's workforce. I'm really excited that this has gone through. Again, it's awaiting the governor's signature, so it's not a done deal, but it's pretty close and as close as we can get today. And it really does accomplish this goal that we have of making sure that more students have real life experiences in the trades and in the business place. And it's in close partnership with both K-12 school, our community colleges, and most importantly, our local businesses. So fourth and finally, I wanted to just talk about a bill that we've called the 21st Century Classrooms Bill. It passed this year, and it's called Senate File 115, and it moves education away from being overly dependent on seat time in school or on hours spent in school. And I'm really excited about this bill because, as many of you saw as parents and community members, the doors kind of blew wide open on things like virtual education and experiential education in COVID. And while we don't ever want to have to pivot to that kind of emergency, one thing that was really underscored for all of us is the fact that kids learn at different paces and in different ways and in different environments. So this bill really does remove some barriers for that to continue to happen and for for students not to have to put in X number of hours as being the impetus for success, but rather mastery of content as an impetus for success. So I continue to support the legislative agenda that forces better collaboration, as Kathy so eloquently put, with business or between business and education. And I just encourage many more of you to be at the table when we're having education policy discussions. And I will tell you that in my 6 years of being in office, we've gone from having strictly education conversations to education conversations that incorporate business and industry and military and the trades and so many other aspects that we want our children to understand and leave school knowing and understanding before the next steps in life. Dale, in particular, you have really helped to advance this mission, and I thank you for your tireless efforts, your support, and my phone calls asking you to go on business trips so that you can weigh in. And I promise they're bearing fruit. So thank you. And while it may seem that the legislature is the only topic of importance in terms of policymaking, I want to share with you 3 large education initiatives that I and my staff are working on right now. So number 1, it has been a year and a half since I presented on a Civics Forward panel in Washington, D.C. that was sponsored by the U.S. Chambers of Commerce. And that was quite an honor to be asked to attend and to be involved in that conversation. And the impetus for the gathering was really a sense of urgency around civics education. And what was really amazing was that the U.S. Chamber of Commerce recognizes the key role that organizations like this play in making sure that our students have an understanding of their civic responsibility, but more importantly, their civic opportunities while they're in school and after school. So I say that because this is a time when we all need to understand and answer that call to action to ensure that a civics education may start in the classroom, but it certainly doesn't end in the classroom. As community leaders, as business leaders, and as members of your community who are civically engaged, it is all of our responsibility to mentor our young people, to model for our young people what civic engagement and civic responsibility looks like. Second, Wyoming is launching a large-scale early literacy initiative, and I'm sure all of you were captivated by the Joint Education Committee meeting that was on Zoom this morning, like I was. That was a joke, and this was a main topic of conversation for what we need to continue discussing in the interim. We are working at the department across the state right now to train teachers and education leaders to teach reading in the most effective and efficient way possible. Because simply put, literacy or dyslexia, struggling reading, crosses all boundaries of demographics, race, poverty, income, what have you. And the truth is that when students aren't taught to read, there's no safety net and there's no backup. Every single student must read proficiently by 3rd grade. This is our goal, and we're committed to it. Our third initiative at the Department of Education is our continued work in career and technical education. And I have to tell you, folks, it's been rewarding. Over the last 6 years, we've made so many strides, both in policy and practice. And I'm really proud of the business and industry community for stepping up and taking a key role in making that possible. We've seen so many changes to our accountability system, to our Hathaway Scholarship program being more inclusive of the trades, and to our computer science initiative that I've talked to this group about in the past. The next stop is work-based learning. That's, again, internships, externships, and opportunities for our students to gain real-life skills by being in the workplace. Students need to be mentored by you to learn skills, and maybe more importantly than workplace skills, they need to be mentored to learn workplace behaviors that will serve them well as they enter the next stages in life, whether that's college, career, military, or workforce training. And on that note, Dale, I just want to thank you again, you and your staff, for inviting me to speak today. And chamber members and guests, I just thank you for coming today. And I'm so excited to see so many friends in person and know that I can still recognize you without a frame around your face. So thank you. You want me to take just okay. I'm happy to take just a couple of questions. I know we're short on time, and so I will be brief in my responses, but I'd love to take a couple of questions if there are any. Okay, no, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. I see one in the back, and if you'll speak loudly, I will repeat your question. Yes, in blue, I think. Yeah. Okay, and for those who may not have been able to hear that question, the question was, first of all, just a comment about literacy and how we're moving in the right direction, and then a specific question about financial literacy and what are we doing. I'm really excited. I just had a conversation yesterday with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Wyoming, and there is COVID federal money that's available for our after-school clubs. And that has been a big push with Boys and Girls Club, with the After School Alliance, and with many other clubs. Not to say that that's the only place that financial literacy should take place, but for business and industry, what a great place to infuse your expertise and your mentorship. So I want you to keep a pulse on what's happening in your community and your Boys and Girls Clubs and your after school clubs to see if there is a place where you can fit in to be a part of that conversation and part of financial literacy. In terms of what we're doing in school, you know that lots of those decisions are made at the local level. There is a requirement for financial literacy-ish in statute, and that's done 48 different ways in 48 different school districts across the state. So we'll continue with your help to really try to bring some unity to that message. There are some wonderful programs out there in the state. There are also some really great programs right here in Cheyenne that I know are helping students understand things like the dangers of credit cards and how much it actually costs to go to college or to be in the workforce. And those are bearing fruit for a lot of students, but not all students. And I think we can do a better job, but not without the help of our business and industry partners, which is why I picked Hallingby out of the card. No, I'm kidding. Thank you for that wonderful question. And if you have great ideas, I would love to hear them and work alongside shoulder to shoulder with you on that. Okay, one more question. Okay.
Hey, Jillian, I know you've talked a lot about your commitment to civics education, and you were in that committee hearing a couple of weeks ago where you said you have an interest in teaching American exceptionalism in schools, and I was hoping you could elaborate on what that means to you.
Sure. So thanks so much for that question. I don't have to repeat it because we have the microphone. And what we saw this year was over half of the states across the nation had a total of about 90 bills that were related to civics education. Wyoming had one. And that first of all was disappointing because I feel like civics education should be at the forefront of every legislative education, every legislative conversation related to education, and it should be on the legislative agenda year after year. As you may recall, I have worked actually 3 times during 3 different sessions to bring forward the civics education assessment for all students. That means that all students would need to pass at a minimum the United States citizenship test in order to graduate. So we've moved that forward in the legislature 3 times, and 3 times that has failed. When you ask the specific question, what does American exceptionalism mean to me? More importantly than what it means to me, it's how it's interjected into our classrooms. And without a civics education assessment and without a cohesive consensus around what should be taught to our students, it's really hard to identify what exceptionalism or history is being taught from classroom to classroom to classroom to classroom across the state. So especially in light of many of the events that have happened over the last year, the last 5 years, and the last decade, we want to make sure that in Wyoming classrooms, our students have an opportunity to learn civics in a way that is truthful about our challenges, our treacheries, our successes, our victories, and to have robust conversations about our roots as Americans and our future going forward in terms of what civic responsibility looks like. And we can't do that unless there is some consensus around civics education, how it's taught. And one way to do that is to make sure that there is a common assessment for students at the end of the road that says, this is the body of knowledge that our students should have learned in civics education. So thanks for that question. And it is 2 minutes after 1. And so I am going to sign off. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate it.
Jillian, thank you so much for your work for the children of our state. We look forward to a very bright future as we continue to advance in the learning of Wyoming's greatest asset, our youth. May is an exciting month for us as we celebrate and appreciate the men and women in uniform who serve our community. Our May luncheon will focus on the missions and people that are so important to the fabric of our community. Happy Easter, and everyone have a blessed weekend. We'll see you in May.